Hey everyone, Ashi here, and I know it's been a while, like a really long time. I think my last video was uploaded about 6 months ago. I'm gonna try to get back into uploading and streaming again, but I feel like making this video because it's kind of a serious topic, and I know it's kind of sucks to come back on with such a depressing video, but I hope you guys stay to the end to learn that this title is not clickbait. So today we're gonna talk about the death of cartoons, and why cartoons are not long for this particular time. So we have to start with recently dropped shows. So HBO Max has dropped over 50 titles, although most of them in which were animated titles. Some were finished, some were incomplete series, some were upcoming series. Some of them were series that were popular that already had their fourth or third season done. For example, Summer Camp Island and Close Enough already had completed 4 seasons, but they were canceled without any word to the creators. In fact, the creators found out around the same day that we did that these series were getting canceled. Netflix has also said that it's going to be dropping 50 of its original IPs. That includes Paranormal Park will not be getting a season 2 airing on Netflix, and that show was incredibly popular in its time in which it was airing. Disney has also seemed to have put a stop to a lot of its animated IPs, and I'm here to tell you why. So, like most of these things, we have to understand that creating animation takes money. And animation is not made profitable by viewers because cable itself is a dying art form. It's all about streaming right now. So you get ad revenue and streaming monthly, but that's not enough to pay for the production of a show, at least not in the mind of a business. Sure, they may make what they spent on it paying through their streaming platforms, but unless they double or triple their profits, they don't really care. Plus, it's easier to make a live action show because it's more, I guess, widely watchable by everyone. So live action shows tend to be easily viewed by wide audiences. Stuff such as Stranger Things, Supernatural, Umbrella Academy, they're really popular among the mainstream audience. The Walking Dead. But cartoons, on the other hand, they appeal to a niche, so they're not as widely viewed. The next thing is figures and marketing. For some odd reason, cartoon companies cannot market cartoons to save their lives. No T-shirts, no memorabilia. They say that people don't buy it, like the art books and stuff. But I know I bought art books for the Owl House, Ruby, and Star versus the Forces of Evil. But they say that they don't sell. So I guess it's sort of a sort of a us and them thing, maybe, or maybe they just don't know how to properly market their products, or they're overcharging, for the products themselves. That's also a possibility, given how companies work. But what does this lead into the death of cartoons? Okay, so with so many streaming services dropping and giving up its anime IPs, which, by the way, for those of you who are a fan of Camp Camp, it did get picked up to air its final season on Cartoon Network, but again, cable isn't long for this world either because so many major cable organizations are going out of business, like Time Warner and DirecTV. So I wouldn't count on them to be able to save all these shows either. Not to mention they probably can't afford all these IPs. But back to that, what made this start? What caused this? Well, this actually all started around, I would say, about 6 years ago. And like most things, it happened because something else broke into the medium of cartoons and became more popular. So, before about 6 or 7 years ago, anime was a niche thing. Not many people watched it in the United States or the West. Well, there were a lot of people, but it was not as mainstream as it was. Then stuff like Sword Art Online, Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, they all hit the scene and they became extremely popular. Their merch was able to be sold in stores, like even in Walmart and basic stores, malls, GameStops, you name it, and it was doing incredibly well. So anime burst onto the mainstream. It was no longer this niche collective like it was when I was in middle school. Everyone knows about anime now. You could go out wearing like a Boku no Hero shirt or a Naruto shirt, someone will recognize it. And that used to not happen, and especially where I live, and now it's even commonplace. You can't say the same about cartoons, unfortunately. Cartoons just don't have that wide notoriety anymore. Since anime burst onto the scene, it made cartoons be seen as more of a child's medium, or a something only a kid could enjoy. And even the cartoons that have done extremely well, there are unfortunately animes just like them, or, well, hundreds. Animes have a much broader genre. And no, I'm not here to shit on cartoons and say anime is better. I'm just explaining what's happening. Now, that started the fall of cartoons because now with anime growing, there was another competitive medium in the West that was kind of pushing it out. because there was no way cartoon releases could keep up with anime releases. So the average release of a cartoon is about 4 to 5 a year at most. Normally it's around 2 or 3 a year. With animes, it's 30 to 40 a season at the least. So, for example, just to give you an idea, in fall of this year, there are 64 new animes coming out, along with 24 continuing animes. That's in one fall season, not in a total year. Meaning the anime is highly more produced than cartoons are. Now, is that creators' fault? No, there are plenty of cartoons being pitched, but companies don't want to pay to animate them. In fact, more companies would rather pay for like a live action show, such as Umbrella Academy, Stranger Things, any of those things, because live action appeals similar to anime to a broader audience now. More people would watch Stranger Things even if they don't know about D&D or Lovecraftian lore because they just think it's cool or they just found out about it from a friend. That's just how it works. That's the way people are. So, with cartoons not being in the mainstream spotlight, why are people all dropping these IPs that they already owned and paid for? Why are they dropping them or why are they selling them? Well, like most things, this comes from a power move by Disney. Disney made probably the biggest power move this year that I think I've seen a company make in a long time. And I mean, I actually think this is bigger than them buying Marvel. So what Disney did was they got into a bidding war with Crunchyroll/Funimation, which merged this year. And they got in a bidding war for an IP for an anime called Bleach. Now, for those of you who don't know, Bleach was a really popular anime back in the 2000s, around 2005 to 2010. It was one of the big three along with Naruto and One Piece. Bleach returning and having its anime finished is one of the biggest things happening in anime this year. So, Disney saw this and the excitement for it in Japan and here in the West, and decided, well, why wouldn't I want to add that to my streaming catalog? So, Disney, with its vast amount of money, could easily outbid Funimation. But guess what? Buying the streaming rights or the distribution rights for an anime is a lot cheaper than producing a cartoon. Now Disney Plus is getting more and more signups on the daily because people are wanting to watch Bleach. And now they know that if they want to watch Bleach in the best quality while supporting the official release, they would have to watch it on Disney Plus. So, Disney Plus seeing that, it's making them look at more and more anime IPs. Well, the moment Disney does it, obviously HBO Max, Netflix, they're all going to start looking at this too. So, they're all dropping their animated IPs, such as like their cartoons like Dead End Paranormal Park, Glitch Tex. They're all dropping those IPs, or in the case of HBO Max, Close Enough, Summer Camp. They canceled an animated movie, I can't remember what it's called, and they also canceled, I do believe they canceled Infinity Train completely. It's now off there, or going off there. So they're all canceling these animated properties to make room for animes that they can just buy the streaming rights to. Because they're going to be watched, and also anime stuff is easier to market because all they have to do is buy the large bulk that's produced in Japan and ship it over to the United States and sell it through their distribution sources. So anime has a massive, larger marketing thing than cartoons, obviously. I mean, you can go anywhere and buy anime figures now in the United States, pretty much, like any nerd store. And that's what they see. They see dollar signs. So, with it being cheaper to buy the licensing for animes that are coming out, and for the fact that those animes will probably get more views than cartoons, there's no point in them keeping the cartoons around. There's no point in paying to produce new cartoons. They can just keep the nostalgic older ones around on their streaming platforms when people want to watch, but there's no point in them keeping newer airing shows or to make new cartoons anymore, because guess what? Japan's producing 50 to 60 a season. There's going to be plenty of them to pick from, and they can just slap them on there, get them dubbed with voice acting, no animation required, and save, quite a chunk of money, while also still making a chunk of money in streaming revenue, along with outsourcing of toys, media, distribution of the Blu-rays, along with probably figures and anything else that you can think of. And that's pretty much going to cost the nail in the coffin for cartoons. That puts cartoons literally on its last leg. Because with the death of cable coming soon, there's really nothing that can save them, because there's no way a cartoon's production could be equal to an anime's production. It's just not going to happen. There's no way people are going to put the amount of money in them. Now, the only cartoons I can think that are safe would be stuff like Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss, which are privately produced mostly, along with stuff like Invincible, DC Comics, Marvel, because those are mainstays, and they're still gonna produce them because they make about as much marketing money as anime. And maybe stuff like Critical Role on Amazon Prime because Amazon has the money to throw around. But as for like your average everyday cartoon like The Owl House, Amphibia, wouldn't surprise me if we don't see anything else like it for a while, considering all these new shows and shows that already had completed seasons have just been randomly canceled all of a sudden, even without the creators knowing. Even Matt Braley, the creator of Amphibia, weighed in on this, saying that he doesn't feel like it's cartoon creators' faults, that it's the companies who can't distribute the media. But the fact that he's weighing in on this means it's obvious that Disney is dropping even more of its cartoon IPs. It's just a matter of time now. So, is there any possible solution? I honestly can't think of one right now. Because, like I said, cartoons are just too far behind right now in production and standards to jump back into the mainstream. Even shows I like and will love, like The Owl House, I mean, there's like 50 animes a season that play the same storyline. You know, like, person gets teleported to another world, has adventures. So I just don't know if there's a way for cartoons to bounce back at this point. I feel like it might be the end. And that's sad, because cartoons have been a large part of my life, too. I mean, I'm still going to enjoy the Marvel and DC animated stuff, obviously. But it's sad to say that there may not be many original productions of cartoons. Between the fact that more people would rather stream animes and live action being more popular among the mainstream, too, there's just no reason to make them anymore. There's no money. I've also seen some Hopium posts, and I'm sorry to crush the Hopium post, about HBO Max temporarily removing these shows and then bringing them back. You can go to the creators' Twitter of such as Summer Camp Island, Close Enough, Infinity Train, any of these canceled shows, and you can see actual posts from the creators saying they were blindsided and their shows were just taken off even though they were almost done with production of their season. I'm pretty sure Close Enough was completely finished with its fourth season, and it's just not going to get to air unless a TV company picks it up. But again, TV companies are dying, so they can't afford new IPs because streaming services are, well, killing them. So it's a shitty situation. It really is. But I think it's best just to know about it now. That way you're not blindsided in the future. I don't want people huffing copium nonstop saying that all their favorite cartoons are going to get continued. Because right now we're lucky if any cartoons get continued. And I would expect to see a lot more anime on all your favorite streaming platforms, especially Disney. Now, does this mean you should boycott anime? No. Absolutely not. I love cartoons. I love anime. I think they're both great. I've been a fan of both since I was a little kid. And I think that with Disney bringing all of Bleach over to it, it's definitely something you guys should check out. Yes, it may feel bad that it's taking place with some of your favorite cartoons, but animes are also really great. Highly would recommend them. They have really solid animation, usually more impressive than anything a cartoon budget could pull off. Not to mention their stories aren't as censored. Now, I have read one more thing about the saving grace of cartoons in America, and that's the representation. But I'm sorry to say that LGBT rep is not enough to save cartoons. Because of one reason. Anime has had LGBT rep since the literal 80s. So if they want to show LGBT rep, they'll just buy an anime that literally has openly LGBT couples front and center for you to see everywhere with no censoring whatsoever. And Disney and them can stream it without getting blamed by their mothers, because they're like, they can just be like, your child approved to click on this website, which means you parentally paid for it. And they're safe from being sued, so no one can like boycott them like they did with the Owl House. They have sort of a safety net. So I don't even think that's a saving grace, unfortunately. This is a short video, but I'm probably going to come back with more videos, and I'm going to be streaming later on with Blue Lightning Studios. I'll have a link to their Twitch in the description. And I'm sorry to bring the news, but I felt like I need to be the one talking about this because I don't see anyone else talking about it and how it's horrible that all these shows are getting canned at once. But with that being said, Ashi signing out.